For months, Cheyenne's aunt held on to one desperate hope. Very beautiful.
On December 1st, 2017, 22-year-old Cheyann Klus vanished without a trace from the home of her new boyfriend in Chicago. In the coming years, suspicions swirled and theories ran rampant, but the fate of the missing woman remained a perplexing, open-ended mystery. That is, until a shocking discovery over 5 years later. Skeletal remains found by investigators were identified as Cheyann, finally bringing a traumatic close to the cold case. The revelation delivered long-awaited answers for some, but left troubling questions for others about what truly happened to Cheyann. Our story begins on November 26, 2017, the night before Cheyann was last seen. An Uber arrived to pick up the 22-year-old from her suburban home in Downers Grove, Illinois. The driver took her to a single-family home nearly 20 miles away in Chicago, belonging to Brian Biddle. Brian was a 38-year-old romantic partner Cheyann had recently started seeing in the past month. By all accounts, Brian liked to party as much as the younger Cheyann. She was still grieving the devastating loss of her mother just weeks earlier. Brian's home became an escape where she could numb her pain through drinking and drugs. According to her friend Chad, who exchanged texts with Cheyann that night, she seemed like her normal, cheerful self. She was looking forward to unwinding with Brian. Little did she know it could be the last night of her life. The next morning, Saturday, November 27th, both Cheyann and Brian seemed to disappear. Neither posted on social media, nor contacted friends or family. Their activities and communications from that morning remain a mystery. But late Sunday night, Chad noticed his phone exploding with a series of distressing texts from Cheyann's number. The first texts arrived around 2 a.m. on Monday, November 28th. Cheyann urgently begged Chad to pick her up from Brian's house. But when Chad tried calling her back 20 minutes later, his calls went unanswered. An ominous silence had set in. In a panic, Chad contacted Brian, who now claimed he'd been sleeping for the past 18 hours. Brian asserted that when he woke up, Cheyann was no longer there. Had she managed to slip away into the night while Brian was passed out? Or was Brian spinning a web of lies to cover up foul play? Whatever sparked Cheyann's desperate pleas for help, she went quiet soon after. With no word from her by Monday morning, Chad and Brian likely assumed Cheyann had found another way home. But tragically, she never returned. Uncharacteristic disappearance raises alarms. By Monday night, Cheyann's family grew anxious that her absence was out of character. It was extremely unusual behavior for the 22-year-old to be out of touch with loved ones for this long without updates. As hours stretched into days with no contact, grave fears set in that something was very wrong. But no one could have imagined the heartbreaking outcome that would leave so many questions unanswered. 5 years later, mysterious call from Cheyann's phone. 12 days after Cheyann vanished without a trace, a chilling piece of evidence suggested she met harm during her final night with Brian. On December 9, 2017, a 911 call was made from Cheyann's cell phone number to emergency services. But before the operator could even speak, the caller inexplicably hung up. Why would anyone call 911 only to immediately hang up? The brief call was long enough to trace which cell tower the phone pinged off of. It originated 20 miles away from Brian's home near Mallard Lake Forest Preserve. Despite extensive searches, no further evidence could be linked back to Cheyann. From the beginning, speculation swirled around 38-year-old Brian Biddle and his involvement the night Cheyann went missing. Could a fight have turned violent between the intoxicated pair behind closed doors? As the last person to see or hear from Cheyann, many found his claims that she simply slipped away undetected in the middle of the night suspicious. Additionally, some felt the nearly 15-year age gap pointed to an imbalanced, controlling relationship, given Cheyann's emotional vulnerability. Perhaps behind their partying exterior lay cracks of jealousy, manipulation, or domestic abuse, culminating in tragedy. Despite public suspicions, police have not labeled Brian as an official suspect. Detectives indicate he has cooperated with the investigation and maintained his innocence. Without enough evidence tying him directly to Cheyann's death, he continues living freely to this day. Nearly 6 years after her disappearance, we still do not know with certainty what led to Cheyann's tragic end. Why did she frantically reach out to Chad for help that late November night? What happened in the hours between that panicked call and her silence? Did she try fleeing Brian's house, only to cross paths with further danger? Or could Brian have discovered her secret attempt to leave, reacting with violence? If Brian was truly passed out until the next morning, there should have been ample time for Cheyann to escape. Were her efforts thwarted by threats or restraint at Brian's hands? Did she ever manage to make it outside alone into the darkness at all? And who was the phantom caller that let Cheyann's phone ring only once 12 days later before vanishing back into shadows? Were they involved with her death or simply stumbled upon remains weeks later? We still do not know when, where, or how Cheyann's body was finally recovered after 5 agonizing years. Until officials release further details surrounding her confirmed death, we are left piecing together our own theories about her chilling end. While the discovery of Cheyann's body finally brought some closure, a dark cloud still hangs for her grieving family without answers. Their calls for privacy and space to mourn speak to a profound pain compounded by the lack of resolution and justice. As investigators carry on assessing the mysterious circumstances of Cheyann's death, they pursue leads that could potentially elevate the case to a homicide investigation if evidence of foul play emerges. But even if her cause of death never escalates from undetermined to homicide, Cheyann's support circle maintains she was a bright, full-of-life young woman celebrating new love before meeting tragedy. They will continue advocating that any shadowy figures involved in her suspicious disappearance face accountability. What we know with certainty is that a beloved daughter, sister, aunt, and friend ceased to exist at just 22 years old. We leave it to authorities to enact justice as they finalize the investigation into her tragic end. The tragic loss of Cheyann Klus teaches distressing lessons we must carry forth. Her story calls on us to be proactive in supporting those who struggle with mental health issues or domestic situations. We as a society must resolve to nurture our youth, for their light can so easily be extinguished through life's cruelty or malice that prey on the pained. While the true circumstances around Cheyann's end may never come fully to light, we can honor her life by working to dissipate the darkness for others facing similar storms and prevent this sorrow from repeating. Until all the facts come to light, we encourage anyone with information related to Cheyann Klus' 2017 disappearance and death to inform the authorities.